Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the IWillAim podcast. Our topic for today is peak performance. We live in a world where high performers are expected to be calm, decisive, resilient. Yet many are operating with a nervous system stuck in survival mode. Today, we're going to explore why willpower isn't enough, how the brain actually drives performance, and what happens when you train your nervous system instead of fighting it. With my special guest, Tiff Thompson. Hi, Tiff. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Let's kick it off with a quick introduction.
I'm a clinical neuroscientist and I'm an educator. And I run a school. I have an online and brick and mortar school called the School of Neurotherapy, where I train clinicians to do what I do, which is uh, clinical neuroanalysis, meaning I work with individuals who have mental health care issues or head injuries or learning disabilities, and I use multimodal stimulation, customized multimodal stimulation to address people's complaints. That's what I do.
Well, thank you for the quick introduction. When we talk about peak performance, how do you define it?
I mean, I think it's actually ultimately becoming self actualized, right? And so people think of peak performance and they think a golfer improves his swing or the executive is like clearer and sharper and can really, do work efficiently and fast. But I actually think peak performance is a natural evolutionary process that we all do life after life, if you ask me, but ultimately becoming the fullest expression of ourselves, what Carl Jung would call capital S self.
Oh, wow, interesting. There's a lot of people who are high performer, but for some reason they struggle to reach their peak performance. Why is it so?
And you could also double down and say, and there are a lot of individuals who are pretty normal, average, mediocre, who somehow pull off amazing things, right? Who
Yeah,
somehow
that's true.
reach high heights. And so, one answer of many answers to that question is about discipline and hard work, if you ask me. Yeah.
That's interesting because that's a foundation for a lot of people who are peak performer.
Obviously, right.
When we talk about peak performance, when people come to you, what's your process? How do you help them?
I would love to tell you that every peak performer that walks into my office is already like awesome. Their data looks brilliant. And I just have to like zhuzh it up, right? So remember, the work that I do is a personalized multimodal neurostimulation program. So let's say, Will, that you wanted to become a faster cognitive processor.
Mm.
Let's say you wanted to have more moments of epiphany and enlightenment and aha, eureka. Those are things that I could do. I could enhance your meditative practice if you wanted to be a better meditator, for instance. But the truth of the matter is that the peak performers that walk into the office, they're people with normal brains, and so they might actually have a little focal slowing that suggests that their memory is somewhat impaired. They might have a stress signature, and so peak performance for them means taking that stress signature down, reducing their stress. They may have brain fog or mind wandering signatures, right? So it's a bit of a spoiler alert, but a lot of the work that I do with peak performance, people who are wanting peak performance, is I just clean up, some of the low hanging fruit that isn't working for them, if that makes sense.
The one thing I think I'm curious about peak performers, they're often people that are very driven, and sometimes they think that they just want to elevate their game. And when they
Mhm.
come to you, is there like a process in place or a system in place where you implement to kind of help them uncover what that problem, whether it's brain fog or it's like cognitive, like challenges that they had? What's the
Right.
process looks like?
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to use you as an example. So
Hmm.
you come into the clinic and we do an intake, which is fairly standard, and then we'll do eyes open resting and then eyes closed resting EEG. So we
Hmm.
look at the brain waves, and we can do a very high density EEG, so we can get a lot of information about your brain with 32 different leads. So lots and lots of electrodes on the head. After that, we do something called an event related potentials test, visual and auditory. So we watch how your brain responds to stimuli. We want to see how your brain responds to auditory stimuli and visual stimuli, right? And we can then identify areas where you might not be responding as quickly or as efficiently.
Mhm.
And then finally, we do a cognitive exam. And the cognitive exam is more of a baseline to see where that person falls in terms of memory and attention and a whole host of other aspects. So that's how we start, right? Now, what will often happen is you come in, you say, "My name is Will, I'm an executive, and this is what I want to dial in. I'm already awesomely efficient and super brilliant, but I want to be even more efficient and brilliant." I'm probably not going to go for your brilliance and efficiency buttons. I'm probably going to go to clean up the little messes that I find in other areas of your brain, right? I might say, "Oh man, like looks like you don't, maybe you have sleep apnea, or you don't get enough sleep. It looks like you have this marker for insomnia." And you might say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I don't sleep very well."
Wow.
So that's what I would go for. So it's actually not what you think. It's beginning to clean up the rubble, the problems. It's taking care of the garbage, as
It's
opposed to
it's
dialing in on what they're already really good at.
as I listen to it, it sounds very scientific, right?
Oh, it's definitely
Yeah.
scientific. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's very interesting, and and it's interesting that you said your marker could be you have sleep apnea, you're not really get a good rest, and that's something that sometimes people don't think about, right? They just think about performing, they think about just going out and do the best they could. If they're an athlete, they want to go out and do the best they could every night, every day, but if they have a sleep apnea and that's causing them to not perform at their peak performance, coming to you is what's going to solve their problem.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly.
Can you give us an example of a success story of a client that worked with you, not really defining the name of the person, but an
Mhm.
example of a person who came to you with a particular challenge, and then after working with you, boom, this person sort of achieved what they intend to achieve.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much everybody. But from a peak performance perspective, what comes to me really, what comes to mind is the individuals that I've worked on who have wanted enhanced meditative performances,
Oh, wow.
right? And so I've had a handful of folks enter. They've advanced their meditative practices to higher and higher levels of, what I would consider like non-dualism, which is one level, a high level of meditative prowess. But I've had people enter very, very high states of ecstasy and sort of meditative awareness and enlightenment sitting with me, and then thereafter, right, because it's a leveling up. And so uh, I have a man who reported that he saw the base of his brain like a rose, and he saw it light up, and he said it actually informed me that I am light. That was a quote from him. There was another woman who, sitting with me, she actually defied a particular mathematical principle that is thought you can't actually do with your brain, but she pulled off this particular ratio, and the name of it right now is slipping me, which is driving me nuts. But regardless, I watched her system do a very highly, highly, highly harmonized pattern. And when it happened to her, she said, "Touch my hands," because she felt a light emanating from her hands, and there was a light that filled the room as I was sitting with her, and so she actually touched something that is ineffable. So I know that that's probably not what you're thinking I was going to talk about, but anyway, really, some of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in working with people is watching people reach sort of spiritual states
Wow.
of ecstasy.
For my listener out there who are thinking of working with you, what's your do you have like a profile of a typical client that should work with you, like the right client for you versus not the right client for you?
Well, I think that the real question there is who isn't the right client, and sometimes they don't even know that they're not the right client, and I won't either until I meet them and work with them. So when it's a metabolic issue, let's say someone
Okay.
comes in with chronic fatigue, for instance, and that chronic fatigue is a consequence of their endocrine system isn't operating, or it's a hormonal issue. Those are the folks that they really need to go and work with a functional medicine doctor.
Hmm.
But I work with everything from the most common vanilla stress and anxiety to some of the strangest issues, things that don't have names: trichotillomania, triskaidekaphobia, different triskaidekaphobia is a fear of the number 13. Trichotillomania is
Oh,
where people
wow.
pull out their hair, and then sometimes they eat their hair. So I know this sounds like a very strange pitch again, but It's the real strange stuff, the stuff that you're not going to psychotherapize away, that really is the most exciting stuff to work on, because what we're working with is very effective. And the easy stuff, the low hanging fruit, but even the out there issues, the most complex mental issues that people have. Yeah.
Well, as I listen to you, I could compare you to Dr. Watson. I don't know if you watch the TV show Dr. Watson.
Mm.
I think it's like a doctor that's fixed that help people address some of the medical condition that they're unheard of.
I
And he
think
and
I
his
might
team.
have. I know
Yep,
something. I like medical mysteries or something.
it's
Yeah.
Dr. Watson. It's just amazing. It's like she's telling me like this story, like what are the things that people are experiencing that are probably not easily solvable by other means that they come to you and they'll have that moment of enlightenment to address their challenges.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this much. If it's something that's neurological in origin, I feel very comfortable working with
Okay.
it. If it's mental, you know?
So people listening out there, if you have challenges that are neurological or mental, Tiff will be your person to go to reach out to her. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Well, so we have a clinic in Santa Barbara called Neurofield Neurotherapy. So that's two compound nouns, Neurofield
Yeah,
Neurotherapy. I also have a school called the School of Neurotherapy. And so I just want to say that, because we're in Santa Barbara, that might make the reaching out challenging for folks. And
yeah.
so there are clinicians all over the country and all over the world in 42 countries who use our equipment. So we also have a hardware software company called Neurofield that manufactures the stimulation software and hardware, as well as the analysis hardware and software.
Well, thank you, Tiff, for your time. I really appreciate you coming to my podcast today. Really appreciate your contribution. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Will. Yeah. Okay, bye.